Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Nighttime. I am your host, Patrick Previty, alongside Maddie Glass, as always, third to last show. Today, we are locked in on the Final Four across men's and women's basketball, and of course, the Frozen Four. Stay tuned because Nighttime starts right now.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
Welcome back to Nighttime, everybody, and we just had a week of sports. And I'm starting it off, I'm here with Jared Fox, the king, and of course, Giovanni's also here. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. I'm just happy to talk about women's basketball, especially with people as enthusiastic, as me about it. So
As you?
As
oh,
me.
you're saying as. Oh, yeah, of course. And I wanted to give a special happy birthday wish to Patrick Previty, our host.
I was going to wait till the end of the show.
Yeah, well, I beat you to it.
All right. Okay, let's just get right into the rematch of the national championship game, Iowa-LSU. Iowa came out on top. Caitlin Clark did it again. She actually accounted for 71% of Iowa's points, and this was a tie game at half. It was a really fun game. Some of the best basketball I watched this year, and Angel Reese played really well. She had 17 points and 20 rebounds. She went out in the mid-second quarter with injury, and that she wasn't really the same after, and Iowa got a lot of help from the role players. Caitlin wasn't the only one playing well. So I think this was just an amazing matchup, but a lot of talk has been about LSU's game plan. So, Giovanni, if you were the coach of LSU, what would you have changed up? What would you have done differently?
it was abysmal. I've never seen someone have the same gravity as Steph Curry when they shoot three-pointers, but I felt that whenever Caitlin Clark shot the basketball, when they were coming off the screens, it was usually the person that was guarding Angel Reese that would set the screen for Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese would drop back every single time, leaving Caitlin Clark open. And then once the fourth quarter came, that's when they switched Haley Van Lith off of Caitlin Clark, and then they came up with Flau'jae. And I think Flau'jae did a really good job, but it was kind of a little bit too late for that, especially when Caitlin Clark was coming off the screen. She was getting blitzed probably with the last like 3-4 minutes, but by that time she probably had at least 35 with 12 assists and like 6 rebounds. She was going crazy. So they waited too long to come blitzing. They waited too long to switch the matchups, and ultimately that defeated them in the end. So
I think Flau'jae did get a couple early fouls, so that might have been a factor. Jared, what do you think? Like, obviously Iowa a lot has been made of just Caitlin Clark, but when they get like points like this from the role players, Sydney Affolter had 16 points, Katie Martin had 21 points. You know, how does that look forward to their chances like in the future?
So, I mean, I think that she needs help. Like, it's kind of like LeBron's early days on the Cavs. Like, give her help. And so when she gets help, I mean, they're just unstoppable. Like, she can't keep getting away with this. She can't keep getting away with this. She's just absolutely unstoppable. And, yeah, when she gets her teammates snapping too, I mean, Iowa's a tough team to beat, but we'll get into that in a second.
especially the way she pushes the offense. She
Yeah.
pushes the pace. I'll say like 20 of their points were fast break points just off Caitlin Clark getting the rebound and pushing it fast break. So
Her cardio is crazy.
it is
Like,
good.
it's crazy.
I thought she played the whole game. Some part of me, like she did not come out in the second half. So
Nah.
yeah, she a dog. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, there are so many storylines from this game. I think one of the biggest ones is just the fact that 12.3 million people tuned in to this game. That was the most watched women's basketball game of all
Ever.
time, I believe. And you have a list
Yeah,
of rundowns
so
of more than it was, right?
It's higher than every ESPN men's college basketball game ever, every MLB game last season, including the World Series, every NHL game last season, every NBA game except for one, and every college football regular season game except for one. And that was the one that really stuck out to me.
Yeah,
That's
no,
actually
that was insane.
crazy.
Wait, what?
was the
Do you know
game.
what games?
The
Yeah.
NBA game?
Yeah.
The college football one was Ohio State, Michigan in the regular season. The NBA one was a finals game.
You know who played? Okay, my bad.
This isn't an NBA show. We can't talk about that.
You're right.
At NHL, nobody wants to But every MLB game ever, it was just, and it had, I think it's highest of March Madness this year.
Yeah, I think so too. This is the future of the game. I mean, we've just talked about how great Caitlin Clark is. Angel Reese just declared for the WNBA
Yes.
draft. I mean, everything as far as the WNBA is concerned for the future is looking like it's on the up. And honestly, can't wait to see these players play more against each other.
There was a little bit of an issue in Portland. The three-point line was measured and painted incorrectly, and they didn't actually notice until like 2 games later.
Yeah, I'm not one to say like, oh, the women's game is taking like 1 step forward, 2 steps back, but this is definitely one of those like instances where you just feel like it never would have happened in the men's game. Almost they would have like helicoptered in a new court or something, like something would have happened. I have no idea, but like they would have definitely changed it or fixed the issue. I guess with both teams having the same advantage and disadvantage, it's not really that big of a deal. I guess that's
I
why
think
they
the fact
decided
that
to
the
play.
players didn't notice is a good thing.
But you could see it. Like you didn't have to bring out the measuring tape.
Yeah,
Like, you
actually,
could
I
see
think
it.
a guy from Twitter like took a picture and like that's how they knew, like from the top. So
Shout out
It was
to
like
yeah,
from the
shout out
game.
him.
Yeah.
shout out X.
Just good.
Sorry, X.
Just good thing that game didn't go to overtime. I feel. I know like they had
could
like a
have played, like,
plan,
half an hour.
but like I feel like that would have gotten really goofy.
Yeah. In other news, Juju Watkins broke the D1 freshman scoring record. And speaking of USC, their season is over because of UConn. Jared, what can you tell me about this game?
Yeah, so UConn versus USC, it was actually like a really good game. UConn usually I think they always had the lead, but it got really close. It was 65-64 with about 6 minutes left in the game, but then UConn went on an 11-0 run, and 7 of those points from Paige Beckers. And I mean, wow, Paige Beckers went absolutely crazy that game. Huskies head coach Gino said it best. Today, Paige was just doing Paige things, and that's, I mean, legitimately what she did. She had a double-double, and I know her name is Paige Beckers, but it needs to be changed to Paige Buckets. That's right, because she led the team with 28 points, 10 rebounds, which is really special considering the fact that she couldn't compete in the tournament last year due to like a pretty serious knee injury. So she couldn't play last year, and she's coming this year for a vengeance. And that's why I think that UConn is winning the whole thing, because I know that, you know, there's some storylines there, but I think Paige Beckers is, you know, she's coming to play this year for real. So I think that she is like super underrated, super untalked about, and I think that pretty soon let me not get crazy.
She's also returning to UConn for another year, which is, I think, a really good story. She also had 6 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. So she was doing it on both ends. So we'll get back to UConn, but we have to talk about South Carolina because they are 36-0, and it feels like nobody is talking about it, even us.
Yeah.
So,
Because they play like a team. We're more like focused on individual players nowadays.
okay,
but
so Giovanni, why aren't we talking about South Carolina?
because the star power of Caitlin Clark, Juju Watkins, Paige Beckers, but South Carolina 36-0 is crazy. And usually a team where they talk more about their head coach than their players does not get a lot of media attention. But South Carolina is nothing to play with. I see why. I don't know why anybody is taking them, why not anybody is taking them. But 36-0, that's very impressive. And their margin of victory is very impressive also, especially against not only in the regular season, but in the tournament too. So
I gotta say one thing though. It don't mean a thing without the ring, baby. Let's see it,
You're
South
right.
Carolina.
Yeah.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
They didn't make it to the finals last year.
No.
So I think that's a big reason
They
why
lost to
people,
Iowa, I believe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So actually, let's go into South Carolina versus NC State because that is one of our Final Four matchups. NC State is in their first Final Four since 1998. And Azia James is kind of leading them. She has 22 points in her last 3 games, but they are obviously going against a powerhouse. What do you think a key, thing for South Carolina is to just take care of business? Patrick?
Oh, was that to me?
Sorry, my bad.
Well, I think it's Camila Cardosa. I think she needs to continue to play well. I mean, when you're 36-0, you just can't let the pressure just get on top of you. I honestly kind of want to I would just put it out there. I do think that South Carolina is going to win this game
Yes.
against NC State. I wouldn't put it past NC State to give them a game, but I just think when you go 36-0, you have just this cachet about you that should give you tons of momentum into games like this. And I definitely think getting behind their stars and what has worked for them for the first 36 games is what they need to do, because they could get punched in the mouth in the first half or something like that, and then we get to really see what they're made of.
And they
sticking to the
played
bread
in
and
a
butter
few
is the
close
best.
games in the tournament where it's like, oh, South Carolina's only up by 7. But I think they have so much depth. Their second leading scorer isn't even a starter, and they average 34.5 bench points per game. So I'm going with South Carolina. Jared, who are you picking?
For the whole thing or just for
No,
this
just
team?
for NC State, South Carolina.
I'm going South Carolina.
South
I mean,
Carolina.
come on now.
All right, so let's get into probably the matchup that we all want to talk about, UConn, Iowa. Jared, what do you expect from this game?
So I think it's going to be like, okay, so I know that, like you said, Iowa versus LSU was like the highest rating game of all time for, honestly, just women's sports in general, but I mean, and everything you said too. But this game is better. Like, it's not going to be marketed as well because we don't have, Angel Reese.
We don't have the storyline.
We don't have the storyline, but we do have a storyline because, as we know, Caitlin Clark was rejected from UConn. So she's coming with a vengeance too. So it's really going to be her versus Paige Beckers, and I'm tuning in. Like, I don't know about y'all, but I'm 100% tuning in.
I got one thing to say.
Let's hear it.
A lot of people are saying Paige, even though Caitlin's doing all this, Paige is still the best player in college. What do you think
I
about that?
almost said it, but that's just too crazy. Like, come on, it's
she's
Caitlin
very
Clark.
well-rounded. I mean, like,
She
she's a great defender, and I think she can take advantage of, Caitlin Clark. We love her. She's not the best defender right now, or at least has to carry so much load on offense. But I think Paige can take advantage of that matchup. And one thing about UConn is they don't have great three-point defense, and obviously Iowa has 6 players shooting 36% or better from 3. But I actually do like UConn. I think Paige Beckers is going to play really well, and I just think the game plan by UConn is going to be better than LSU.
Yeah, I'm going to take Iowa, but I think everything that y'all have covered is completely right. For me, Caitlin Clark is on the don't bet against list, so I'm not going to do it right now. I think that they'll win, but this could go either way. It's a toss-up, essentially.
Giovanni?
I'm going with Iowa. If Paige is the Kevin Durant of WNBA, then not WNBA, sorry, of women's basketball right now, then I got Caitlin Clark as Steph Curry. So
Okay, Jared, real quick.
I got UConn, baby.
Okay. All right, well, that's all the time we have for this segment. Moving on to My Nightlight, who is a UCF softball player who ranks 3rd in stolen bases in the Big 12. Stay tuned for when we come back.
Hello, my name is Tyler Brownrigg. I hope you're enjoying
I was
what
gonna keep
show
going.
it is that's playing right now here on Hitting the Field Network. And if you're interested in more of our shows or want to know more about the one you're currently watching, don't worry, I'm here to tell you. Our week starts off on Mondays with HTF Bets, hosted by the Bets Boys, Andrew Montana, Ezra Hines, and Giovanni St. Cyrin. You can catch that show live Mondays at noon for all things betting in sports. I highly recommend it. And then you can follow it off on Tuesday with The Combine, hosted by the illustrious Ty Patton. If you're in for a more laid-back, kind of podcast-style show, a lot more casual, that is definitely the show for you. Maybe you'll catch some Ty Squared action with me on there. Wednesdays, every week, you'll be able to catch the vlog, learn about what's going on behind the scenes here in the studio at Hitting the Field, get to know more about us, especially the people behind the camera, who they are, and what we do to make these shows every week. And on Thursdays, live at noon, you can watch the main show with me as your host every Thursday, where we'll be covering all of the major storylines for any sport, be it football, basketball, hockey, soccer, you name it, we'll be talking about it on the main show. And then Friday, you can watch Nighttime with your hosts, Maddie Glass and Patrick Previty, for all things college sports, especially with a focus on UCF sports and maybe the ones you haven't heard about so often, like tennis or women's track and field. It can be anything college on Nighttime. And if you're interested in joining Hitting the Field and you're a UCF student, DM us on any of our social medias at Hitting the Field, and also give us a follow on all those, and subscribe to this channel if you want to catch more of our content. But enjoy the rest of your show. As always, I'm Tyler Brownrigg, and I'll be seeing you on Main Show.
Is outfielder Janisha Rowe. She is hitting 377 and has 29 hits on the season. She also has 13 stolen bases this season on 14 attempts, so is playing very well.
And now, taking us into hockey is first-time caller, long-time listener,
Yeah.
Frankie Noble. This is also the first time we've talked hockey on Nighttime
Yes.
this season. So
Ever, I think.
Oh, ever. Okay, maybe ever. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But we're talking hockey, so let's do that hockey. Frankie,
That was crazy.
if you can just give us a quick rundown of what the tournament has been like so far and the Frozen Four.
Yeah, the tournament's been pretty solid. It's been pretty predictable, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, everything that's supposed to happen has happened. The teams that are supposed to be in the Final Four are in the Final Four. There's a few teams that I think could have made it that didn't, that I'll definitely cover when we get into the games we're about to talk about, because those are the teams that should make it. But, I mean, there hasn't been a ton of blowouts. There hasn't been anything super exciting, but the games have been fun to watch. I think college hockey is so much fun to watch. It's the future of the NHL. A lot of these players are going to the major league, so it's going to be really fun to watch these games. I think the Frozen Four is going to be pretty exciting this year.
Yeah, and speaking of the Frozen Four, we have our matchups, and it's going to be Denver, Boston University, and Michigan, Boston College. So a lot of Bostons in there. But let's start with Denver, Boston University. So what was like when you saw that this was going to be the matchup? What was your first impression of this game?
Yeah, I was really interested to see this because arguably you can say BU is a really, really strong team and one of the best teams in the Final Four. But Denver is also so fast, scores a lot of goals. So I think it's going to be a really exciting game, really goal heavy. I think it'll be fun to watch as a fan, and these guys really want to win. Both of them don't have a lot of history in this Frozen Four tournament, so I think they really want their win. Denver's coming off a win against Cornell, 2-1, which was a really close game, and they were missing Massimo Rizzo, which was huge. So I think they want to bounce back from that and show that they deserve to be here.
Yeah, I would agree with that based on what I know. And can you tell me about like a key player maybe that like could be the X factor in this series?
Yeah, absolutely. So for each team, I would say that for Denver, it definitely is Massimo Rizzo because he was gone last game, and they want to show that he should be there, and they really, really care about him. But the main key player in this game would be Macklin Celebrini. I mean, he's going to be first overall. We were just talking about this earlier. He's going to be first overall. He's a great player. He's literally 17. He was born in 2006, which is disgusting and makes me feel really old. He has a total of 64 points right now, 32 goals, 32 assists, which is just insane. And that's their star player. I mean, when you think of BU, you don't think of any other player, and that's just what it is.
And so who is a player that like you would compare him to in the NHL that maybe we might know?
That's a fun question. I mean, you can go the easy way and say Connor Bedard just because he's so young and he's tearing it up, but also because it's just who had a strong first year. You might want to say Jack Hughes, but that's just not fair because Jack Hughes didn't have a good start to his NHL career. So I'm going to go with Connor Bedard. Yes, he's had a rough year with injuries, but he's still proving that he deserves to be here. So I definitely say that. I mean, Connor Bedard is a name that everybody knows. So if you want to compare that, that's what I would say.
And I have a fun fact about Macklin Celebrini. So
Going
I
crazy.
actually learned this a few months ago, but like it just didn't register when we started doing this. His dad is actually the team performance doctor for the Warriors, Rick Celebrini. He's been there for a long time. He's he's a very good at his job. He's like known for, he kept Otto Porter Jr. healthy. Really niche stuff, but that is really cool that like the small world and like the fact that his son, he works for a basketball team. His son is like going to be the #1 overall pick in hockey. And there was a really cool clip of Draymond Green talking about how he went to one of Macklin's games and just knew like you can tell when somebody has it and he has it. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, Maddie was going crazy about that last night.
Frankie was shocked.
I was jaw dropped to say the least.
All right, so it looks like we have a full rundown of Denver versus Boston. Now, if you had to make a pick, who do you think is going to win and why?
Yeah, so like I said before, I think BU is the better team. Denver does have the speed and the goal scoring, but I'm going to say that it's going to be BU. I mean, they were the #2 seed, and I think that they want to prove that they deserve that spot, so I think that they're going to win, and then we'll get into the next game, and I'll say who they're going to take on in that game.
Yeah, so the next game is Michigan, Boston College. Again, give us like kind of a quick run through of first impression of this game.
Yeah, Michigan and BC, I think arguably are the two best college hockey teams right now. And not even just right now, but of college hockey history. They have so much history to their teams that it's going to be an exciting game to see these two match up because, I mean, Michigan is they punched their 3rd straight ticket to the Frozen Four, and they have the longest history of making Frozen Four tournaments. And then right after that is Boston College. They come right in second. So it's going to be a fun game to see how these two well-rounded teams are going to play against each other. They're both fast. They both have great defense, which I think is important to note, but they also have great offense. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how they use those two components.
Absolutely, and they're both very young teams. I mean, like you said, Michigan punched their ticket multiple years in a row, but Boston College is super young. When you're looking at the rosters, out of the players available in this game, who are the most important for each team?
Yeah, so starting with BC, I'm going to say it's Will Smith. He has a total of 69 points, which is the most points for an individual player left in this tournament. He's just a game maker. He's a playmaker. I mean, he is BC, but BC is their team. Like, they have unbelievable players at such a young age. They are the youngest team, like you said. They have that depth at such a young age, which I think is so important. For Michigan, I'm going to say it's Rutger McGroarty, who, I mean, I have a little bias just because I absolutely adore him, but he has the history of playing. He was the captain of the U.S. World Juniors team, which won gold this year. So he wants that success and more because he had it this year, and he wants to take home the national championship for college hockey too, and I think that he's going to want to prove himself. He was drafted by the Jets, so he wants to make sure that he has this great background in college hockey so he can go into the Jets and make an impact on that team.
So who is your pick to win this game?
Okay, so my pick to win this game, not this team, is Michigan. I think BC definitely looks better right now. They're the #1 seed. People are going to say that it's going to be them. But Michigan just has the history, and they have the Frozen Four experience that pushes them to win. I think they're well-deserved to win. I mean, they're such a fun team to watch. I think that they're going to be the ones that take it home. I think they're going to take home the whole tournament, actually.
Okay, so your national championship pick would be Michigan.
Michigan.
So you have them playing BU.
Yeah.
Okay, so Boston College is the favorite right now. Michigan has the 3rd best odds. Real quick, who's your national championship pick?
I would take Boston College.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so fair. That's
I
very
also
fair.
might take Michigan. You know, they could have college football national championship hockey. Why not?
That would be pretty crazy. But
that'd be
thank you,
so
Frankie,
fun.
for joining us for hockey. Now it's time to get into my nightlight. My nightlight is a UCF baseball player who has helped the Knights reach 20th in the national rankings. Find out who they are after the break.
Jack, buddy, why are you here?
I don't really understand why I'm here. I got called a delusional fan. I just don't understand why I'm delusional if I think Kirk Cousins had the best mustache in the league.
Well, Jack, buddy, I don't want to be the one to tell you this, but I don't think anybody looks cool in handlebars.
But they're back, man. They're back.
They're not. They're not. Sometimes you just got to face the hard truth. It's right there in front of you. All these people, they're calling you delusional, but sometimes you got to worry about, am I projecting? Is it me? And in this
Let me
case,
tell you something, bud. It could never be me. Anything I say is factual and truth, and that's why the Vikings are going 16-1 this year.
organization, you have to look at your roster and say, I've had Kirk O'Thuggins for 6 years. Maybe it's time to move on.
There is no moving on from Kirk Thuggins and Justin Jefferson.
Do you think that maybe this all started just because of a little disappointment?
Nothing has started. This is how I live, and I am not delusional. I'm a prophet.
Prevesk. He leads the team in batting average and has 41 hits through 26 games. The Knights play host to Kansas State tonight. Now, taking us into men's college basketball Final Four is Tyler and Ben joining us on the couch. Guys, a lot happened in the Elite Eight. UConn dominated Illinois, Alabama advanced over Clemson in a close one, and Purdue knocked out Tennessee, as well as NC State continuing its Cinderella run, beating Duke. Guys, we're looking at UConn, Alabama first. What are the biggest things that y'all are looking for in this game coming up?
Man, UConn, Alabama.
I would say the biggest thing is UConn is obviously the favorite in this game, and for good reason. They have won 10 straight tournament games going back to their championship run last year, and they haven't lost a game since February. Honestly, I think UConn just needs to not get injured. Donovan Cleggan is amazing. Tristan Newton is amazing. This team's entire starting lineup is in double digits in points per game. They're just the best team in college basketball for a reason. They're the favorite for a reason. Honestly, the only thing that can stop them, I feel like, is an act of God and some horrific injury.
Oh, man.
That's all that really can prevent them.
That is an extreme analysis. I don't know. This Alabama team is really good.
This is what
on
happened
offense.
to Houston with Jamal Sheed in their loss. So it's like that. I feel like it's
I
the
have
only
to
thing
say,
that can
Houston
happen.
would have been in the Final Four. They
Well,
would have beat
yeah,
Duke
I mean-
easy if Jamal Sheed didn't get injured.
Well, then they would have had to go through NC
Hot
State.
take. And they would have beat them too.
I don't know
Okay,
about
real
easy.
quick, I want to go to Ben. So obviously UConn is the favorite, but
For
what
sure.
is a key for Alabama to keep this game close?
So Alabama, they've proved the offense reigns supreme in the tournament this year. Put up 90 points per game. It's going to be hitting the three like they did against Clemson. It's going to be Mark Sears, like it always is. I think in the paint, they get dominated no matter what. Klingon's just too big, too strong. Nick Pringle's going to be a big guy in the paint, but I think Grant Nelson gets bodied like he did against Clemson. So hitting the three is just going to be very dire for Alabama.
And I think in the 80s, like hitting the three at that rate that they might need to win this game over UConn would have been an act of God. They would have had to had 14 threes in the 1980s, but this isn't the 1980s. I feel like it's not that extreme of a thing to happen. I feel like they could really they could get hot. They've been hot this entire tournament. Now I'm not taking Alabama.
And
I need to
UConn
already
has been
put that out there.
cold.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
shooting 28% from three in the tournament. It's a lot to ask, obviously, but to keep it close, they got to get Donovan Clingan into foul trouble, and they have to just chuck threes and hope they go in, honestly.
Yeah, Klingon needs to he needs to be off of the court
Yeah.
if Alabama has any shot. Against Illinois, with him on the court, they had 14 points on 5 for 38 shooting. With him off the court, they had 38 points, 12 of 29. Now some of that's, a part of the 30-0 run that they went on, but just him on and off the court is completely different. And against a team like Alabama that won't be able to hang inside, they need him to get in foul trouble or just not have it going. The last game that UConn lost was in February to Creighton. They were 14 of 28 from three. Clingan couldn't really get it going. They kind of brought him out of the paint. That's the only way that Alabama wins. But I don't think it's as ridiculous as it may seem. They're going to have to shoot 30-plus threes.
I
so.
want to see UConn in a close game, finally. They haven't played in a close game this tournament. I don't think they played in, any close games in the Big East. That's when, things get tough.
Yeah, let me ask Tyler this. Actually, if UConn gets punched in the mouth, let's say Alabama's up by 7 points going into the second half. I mean, do they have what it takes, or what are they made of kind of thing? Do you think that then they could get caught?
It's hard to say. Their coach said, we struggled to play in close games, so our solution to that was just no longer be in close games. And that strategy has worked. Their margin of victory has been in the double digits. But it's tough to say, how will this team struggle with adversity if they have to face it? But it's are they so good they'll never have to face it? I don't think that'll be the case. I think they will. Obviously, you can't be perfect forever. Your momentum can only ride for so long, and at some point, someone's going to get cold, something's going to go wrong, and they're going to have to deal with it. But this is an experienced UConn team in the tournament. They've been in big game situations before. They are reigning champs. They know what to do in these situations. Just because they're dominant doesn't mean they're inexperienced.
And then one more player for Alabama that's obviously stood out the entire tournament, Mark Sears. Ben, what have you seen from him, and do you think he has what it takes to play really well against UConn?
I mean, absolutely. He's been electric so far. He hit 7 threes against Clemson, 6 being in a row. 6 in a row threes is absolutely wild. I think he absolutely has what it takes to keep being on fire and just keep hitting threes and even just distributing the ball down low. I mean, Nick Pringle hit those and ones. So I think absolutely he has what it takes.
All right, now moving into predictions, I feel like me and Tyler maybe have already given our hand away. I've almost talked myself into taking Alabama, but I'm not going to do it because I had San Diego State a couple rounds ago, so I'm not going to do it. I'm a weenie out right now, and I'm going to take UConn.
I'm also going to take UConn. They're just I think Alabama can keep it close, but UConn's just on a different level.
I actually think the spread is also 13.5.
That's crazy.
I think Alabama could cover that.
Oh yeah.
I agree with you, Patrick. I think Alabama can cover the spread. This will be UConn's first non-double-digit victory. It'll be by 9 though. If I had to say, UConn will still advance for sure.
I think the only way Alabama even has a fighting chance if it's extremely high scoring, but even then I think UConn takes it.
And then moving on to our other matchup, Number 1 Purdue is looking for revenge, and they get number 11 NC State, who is obviously on a Cinderella run. Starting it off, what is your feelings on this game so far?
All right. Okay, I despise your use of air quotes, Maddie, with the Cinderella run.
A Cinderella team cannot be
They
a
were
Power
a
5
double.
school.
They are a double-digit seed, and they had to win their tournament in order to make They had to win their conference tournament in order to make March Madness. There was a tweet from I think it was NC State's Barstool. It's like, we just have to win 11 games in a row.
I have seen that.
And then we're national champs, and now they're only at 2 away. Like
they're just
their
not,
run
like,
is amazing.
It's
it's
an
absurd.
amazing run, but they're not a Cinderella school because they've won national championships before. They're a Power 5
Power
seed.
5.
They're a Power 5 school.
They're the closest thing we
I-
have to a Cinderella.
I would call them a Cinderella. I also think it matters how far you get in the tournament too. Like if this 11 seed would have got to the Sweet 16, I think I'm not really here to talk about that. But getting all the way to Final Four, I mean, usually these teams have already dropped out, no matter who they are by now. So I think that they
Okay,
are.
well,
this is a
besides
matchup.
our Cinderella thing, what are your thoughts on the matchup?
I think it might be a hot take here. I think DJ Burns absolutely makes Zach Edey his son. I think, okay, DJ Burns might be a regular at the local McDonald's, but good luck. Zach Edey's going to be serving him in a few years. So
I think that's pretty bold. Zach Edey, the biggest thing is Zach Edey cannot be attempting 22 free throws like he did against Tennessee. That cannot happen. And DJ Burns, he got into foul trouble against Duke. So, and I feel like you can't rely on DJ Burns to stop Zach Edey on defense. You need Mohamed Diarra to step in. You need Ben Middlebrooks to step in. You need to have a lot of people on him, especially because, again, the height advantage with Zach Edey is still insane. But the bigger player that NC State needs to rely on is their other DJ Horn. He is outstanding. He is actually NC State's leading scorer, and they're not going to be able to rely on the interior game like they did against Duke with DJ Burns when he was just putting up like the weakest hook shots ever and they just go in. They need to rely on the perimeter. DJ Horn, 40% shooter from 3. He's going to need to be the X factor in this game for NC State.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely think that if NC State has any chance, they're definitely going to have to like hold up on the interior because for the most part, DJ Burns just can't get into foul trouble against Zach Edey though. Like that would be his biggest thing, and he fouls a lot.
He's been in foul trouble this entire tournament.
I mean, it's essentially what Walmart Shaq versus like a Gucci Zach
And
Randolph.
Zach Edey's
Like,
got 7 inches on him. Like
I don't know. I still think Walmart Shaq would win in that scenario. I mean,
He's
just
just looked at as
he
an
kinda just
offensive
takes a ton
line
of free throws.
prospect.
and
He's
it's
getting
tough to watch.
offensive line talks from NFL teams, allegedly.
crazy.
Never would I have
cannot
thought
just
I would
body
have
his way to a
defend
bucket
Zach Edey,
in this
but-
game.
Oh my
Yeah, and Zach
goodness.
Edey's obviously been playing incredible. I know we all don't like him, but what have
Yeah.
you seen from Zach Edey still? He's on his revenge tour.
I mean, he's averaging 30 and 15. I mean, barbecue chicken down low. This guy is killing folks. Like, he's killing, like, future accountants and everybody of the sort. And I think DJ Burns might just be another guy, like, on the trail of just domination for Zach Edey. I'm surprised by Purdue's run. I would have never picked them to go this far, but I just think it's so impressive. And I just don't see this matchup is just so tough because he does foul so much. And I just foresee 15-plus free throws. He's averaging, I think, almost 15 a game in the tournament. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I think he'll get to the line. I think this will be enough
Okay,
for Purdue to win.
so I have a question for both of you guys. Say we're in the future, the game already happened, and NC State wins. What do you think the reason they would win? Like, what's the reason?
It is simply the curse of Purdue. The double-digit seed loss is destined to happen. We didn't think it was going to happen. You know, they were, but now they have come face to face with a double-digit seed once again. This has been their Achilles heel. You know, playing down to expectations, and I think this will likely be the story once again with Purdue.
Yeah, I think if DJ Burns stays out of foul trouble and if Zach Edey doesn't get to the line like he has been, then I think NC State has a really good chance of winning here, honestly.
All right, give us your predictions and then we'll give ours.
I'm taking NC State. They took
Okay.
me this far.
I will say I will also go with NC State. Purdue will not pull a Virginia 2019 where they get the revenge for losing to the 16 seed. It will end here once again.
That was a curveball from Tyler. I really thought you were going to take Purdue.
also-
I'll take Purdue, though.
I'll take Purdue, and I like UConn over Purdue if that comes to it. I think that'd be a really fun matchup. But we'll get to that next week because that is all the time we have today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And happy birthday to my co-host, Patrick.
Happy birthday, Patrick.
Happy 22nd birthday.
Thank you.
So see you next week. Bye.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back, okay? Always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.